Welcome to the Pitchin and Sippin podcast, where we talk PR trends and tips over sips and meet a wide range of incredible founders, PR pros, and members of the media. I'm Lexie Smith, a former workaholic VP of PR and marketing turned two-time entrepreneur, founder of the PR Bar Inc., business and PR coach, new mama, and self-proclaimed connoisseur of puns, pizza, and wine. I'm a huge believer that knowledge is power and kindness never goes out of style. Think of this show as a way to uplevel your business and career over happy hour. Now let's get to pitchin' and sippin'. Kelsey Ogletree is an independent journalist covering travel, food, design, and golf. Her work has appeared in various print and digital outlets from Midwest Living and Condé Nast Traveler to the Wall Street Journal and Food and Wine. Together with her husband, Derek, she's also the co-founder of Pitchcraft, a journalist-led membership platform helping PR pros build relationships with freelance writers and editors in the national consumer lifestyle space. So, Kelsey, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to be hosting you, especially considering how busy your life is these days. So let's start off for everyone listening. Where is home base?
Well, thank you for having me, Lexie. It's a pleasure to be here. I am currently based in Florence, Alabama, which is just about 2 hours south of Nashville.
Okay. The one category in school where I was not perfect was geography. So I don't think I realized on a map how close you were to Tennessee, which is probably dumb. And I probably shouldn't have shared that on this podcast, but that was a little geography lesson for me. Okay. So I know if I had asked you this question, even like 6 months ago, it would have been different. But what do you like to do for fun these days?
Well, that's a great question, Lexie. I just had a baby boy named Asher, our first baby in April. So we are fully consumed with new parenthood at the moment, but loving every minute of that. And outside of being a mom, I love to cook and bake and play golf and just be out in nature as much as I can.
And I love your little boy's name, Asher, because my little girl is Ashlyn. So I'm
oh my gosh, that's so cute. We'll have to get them together sometime.
I know. So congrats. So 4 months? How old is he now?
He just turned 3 months.
Just turned 3 months. So anyone who has had a child, let's all bow down to the fact that you are showing up. You look beautiful. You are on camera right now, and you are not stumbling over your words. That is insane. I was not functioning at that level when Ashlyn was 3 months old.
It's definitely a whole new ball game with a baby in the picture. That's for sure. Definitely not as organized as that used to be.
Nope. And I'm not a new mom anymore because Ashlyn's 15 months, but I still feel like I am in many ways. I'm like, it's new mom brain. And I'm like, how long can I get away with saying that? I don't know. But you are in it. You are in it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to go back and review some of your career history, right? So if we were to pull up your LinkedIn page, or if you were to give us a Cliff Notes overview, where did your journalism career begin? And then kind of walk us up to today.
Sure. So I got my degree in broadcast journalism from Carroll College in Montana. And then I went on to Northwestern to get my master's in magazine journalism from Medill in Chicago. And from there, I went on to be a business editor at McKinsey & Company. And then I switched gears a little bit and went into the luxury lifestyle space, working as an editor for Modern Luxury in Chicago and then Atlanta. And eventually ended up as an editor at a meetings and events trade publication, which is where I really started getting into writing about food and travel, which are huge parts of that industry. And when I got laid off from that job in 2017, I decided to try freelancing kind of in those niche spaces of food and travel, and got my first few bylines in national publications and really just took off from there. And I've been working as a freelance writer ever since, so about 6 years now. And in 2020, I kind of started the foundation of the business that officially was founded in 2021 called Pitchcraft, which is a membership platform for publicists to connect on a relationship level with writers and editors.
Okay, so talk to us all about Pitchcraft, because and Guys, I did get a sneak peek about the platform and it is incredible. And I'm so excited about it. And I'm so excited if you guys, this is the first time you've heard of this because it's incredible. And I'm going to stop talking, tell us all about Pitchcraft.
Sure. So one thing that I have always kind of followed in my freelance career is just the notion of building relationships with publicists, because I really believe in my heart that there are three sides to every story, and that includes, the editors, the writers, and the publicists. I think that a good publicist is such an integral part of storytelling, especially when you're working with someone who, is helping to share the story of a small business or, a person or a product that they work with, and are just a really important partner to freelance writers in helping to see these stories through to fruition. So, I've always kind of prioritized those relationships with publicists. And when the pandemic came, I started hosting these, just Zoom calls with publicists and writers to all have a forum to talk about the state of pitching, what was happening, what were publications doing, how should we be pitching around the craziness of the world at that time. And eventually I didn't want the spotlight to be on me. I didn't want to be the person giving all the answers. I wanted to bring other freelance writers and editors into the fold and really just serve as like the connector behind the scenes of all that. So that's where the idea for Pitchcraft kind of started happening. And this sort of started in the early stages as workshops where we would bring in 4 freelance writers, 1 a week for a month on a particular topic, say like travel, and they would answer a series of questions in a discussion that I moderated about how they like to be pitched, what they were working on, what was their personal brand as a writer, and publicists could pay to be part of that. I soon realized after doing that for a while that people really wanted to continue the community that was being built in those spaces. So beyond just having, a monthly workshop, I wanted to turn this into a year-round community and wanted something to go much deeper than a social media group or something like that. So the idea for Pitchcraft was kind of born out of that. And we worked with a developer to create this entirely custom-built platform for our company that we kind of relaunched in December 2022 as a brand new platform. And our hallmarks of Pitchcraft are weekly interviews with freelance writers to get to know them and be able to pitch them really specific ideas for what they're looking for. Monthly pop-up discussions where we bring on editors from national publications to talk about a specific a specific topic, type of publication. For instance, we just had one focused on pitching weddings related stories. So we had an editor from the New York Times, Destination I Do, and Brides join us to talk about that. And then we also have breakouts every Friday for just our members, which is really the community aspect of Pitchcraft. Most of our members are independent publicists or from small agencies. So they just really value that 1 hour together every week to be able to bring a challenge to the group or say, I'm really struggling with this client, or I had this really strange thing happen. Can anyone help me talk through this? So those are kind of the hallmarks of Pitchcraft. And then we also have a lot of other resources related to like e-commerce, editorial calendars, media kits, things like that. But I think, the foundation of this is really the community and the relationships aspect.
So if someone wants to learn about how to learn more or explore what this membership would look like, 2-part question, where do they go? But also, do they have to be a publicist or writer, or is this something also business owners can apply to be a part of?
Yeah, that's a great question, Lexie. So on our website, which is just pitchcraft.media, you can book a tour of Pitchcraft with us. My husband and I are the co-founders, and we do all of them personally and show you around to make sure that it would be a good mutual fit before anyone just joins. So you can't just go in and become a member. You have to have that call with us so that we can make sure it's a good fit for you as well as us. And then, sorry, I just forgot your second question now.
You're fine. Can you, do you have to be a publicist or writer, or can it be for small business owners?
Oh, yes. I'll blame it on the new mom brain, right? So you do not have to be a publicist, but I think that is the majority of our membership. However, we do have some small business owners who are part of our membership who at least have some baseline understanding of media or have done some pitching before. If you're starting out really fresh as a business owner wanting to connect with the media, I don't think our platform is the best fit for you, but we are launching an events division this fall. Our first event is in September, and those are going to be a series of regular workshops each year where we will have a select number of small business owners who are able to take part in an in-person workshop with us, as well as freelance writers and editors, and really learn how to craft their message and be able to write pitches that get them covered in these media outlets.
What is there like a city lineup, or how can we get that on our radar?
Yeah, so great question. So our first event is in Birmingham, Alabama in September, and we are already sold out for that, but we are going to be looking at adding more cities for Q4 and then a lot more in 2024 as well. So stay tuned. We will be posting those on our social media accounts as we confirm the cities.
Special request for Ventura, California. I will find publicists. I don't know if they're here, but they must be.
I'd love to do that.
And actually, for anyone watching on YouTube, you're going to notice that I have a very different background. I was just giving a Ventura shout out, but I'm actually in Portland, Oregon today, where at my family home. Plug for YouTube. Okay, so you are a journalist. You're now a founder. You're a new mom. You're a pro publicist journalist. Which thank you, by the way, for being positive. There's whole Twitter threads bashing publicists. So thank you for being part of the positive movement. In learning more about you and kind of brainstorming what topic I wanted to go into today, I started reading some of your writing, right? And I came across an article you published called "If You're Not Pitching Writers on Content Marketing, You Should Be, and Here's Why." And this is what I want to dive into today. So first, maybe it would be helpful to break down what you mean when you're talking about content marketing in this lens.
Sure. So when most people think of pitching the media or just pitching in general, they're thinking of these consumer outlets that we all know, think Better Homes and Gardens, Midwest Living, Southern Living, Travel and Leisure, things like that. But there is so much more opportunity than that these days, because every brand out there is producing amazing content for the most part to, drive traffic to their site and provide resources to their customers and clients. So by content marketing, I'm talking about blogs, journals. A lot of it will live under like the resources tab of whatever company is producing this. So for example, just think about take a particular industry, like maybe we just say travel, for instance. What is a service or a product or something that the travel industry would use? So we can make a big list from that. But one example that I was thinking about was like rental cars. That's a big part of travel, right? So what are some companies in the rental car space? Well, one that came to mind was Turo, which is kind of like the Airbnb for cars. So if you search Turo blog, they have a blog called Field Notes where they're publishing regular stories about travel and cars. So that could be an option to pitch, and if you're thinking about the travel space, have something that could be a fit for road trips, looking to things like that are content produced by companies, but that reads very much like editorial and is not, it doesn't feel like it's just promoting the brand.
Did you know that I send out a community newsletter roundup every Tuesday, chock full of resources, free media kit downloads, event invites, journalist contacts, visibility opportunities. Basically, if you're not on the list, hit pause and sign up. It's super simple. Go to theprbarinc.com/newsworthy. That link is in the show notes. Okay, back to the show. Now, for those opportunities, are there any suggestions you have on how to necessarily vet the legitness of a given blog, right? Because while I love my website, prbarinc.com, I know it carries a very different weight than a HubSpot. So how do you suggest figuring out if a given blog or resource part of a website is worth your time to pitch?
Yeah, well, I think there are a few things that you really want to look for. First of all, when you're looking at the articles, check the dates and make sure that they're current. There's a lot of companies out there that might have good intentions starting a blog or a content site, and they kind of falls by the wayside and they don't update it. So I would say looking at the dates is the first thing to make sure that they're actually legitimate and, continually posting and maintaining this. The second thing I would look for when it comes to pitching content marketing is see if the articles on these sites are bylined. So if they are not, that means that they may be written internally or they may be ghostwritten by a freelancer. And those tend to be a lot harder to pitch because you simply don't know who's writing them, right? So for instance, my background in meetings and events. So I contribute some blogs and papers to some events technology companies, but those are ghostwritten articles. They are, in the company voice and written as if the company was writing them. So, that isn't something that I would be open to pitches for as a freelance writer because my name isn't even tied to it. However, there's a lot of sites out there now where they are actively working with freelance writers, and they basically look like a regular article, like you would see on a general consumer magazine website. So checking for those bylines, I think, is really important. And also, I would read through some of the articles. Like with any type of publication you're pitching, I would really hope that, all your listeners know that they should be reading that publication beforehand. But with these, I think it's even more important. Like, don't just read one or two articles and click through and then try to pitch a writer. I would, most of these have newsletters. I would subscribe to those newsletters, follow them for a month or two, really make a habit of checking the blog every couple of days and, seeing the news stories that are up there, seeing what kinds of sources these writers are including. Like, for instance, are they interviewing experts like a doctor or a chef or a sleep expert or whatever it might be, rather than just kind of coming up with the information on their own and not linking to anything. So you want to make sure, like if you're a publicist with a client, you want to make sure it's worth your time to pitch these writers because they would actually be able to mention your client by name and ideally link to them rather than just, taking the information they share and putting it into a blog as if they already knew that information just as the writer.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I'm wondering too, I think we're more well versed in identifying traditional outlets. There's tons of resources out on the market from, the Decisions and the Muckracks of the world to the Pitchcrafts, which are more up and coming, and the Prowleys. Is there any resource to date that you know of that would be a good place for someone to be able to effectively research maybe different sites that have these content marketing blogs?
That's a really good question. I don't know of an aggregate resource like that, but I think, just thinking through the industry that you're most interested in, and then kind of thinking about like what companies are associated with that for the people who are part of that industry, there's a good chance that they are going to have like a blog or a website or something that is a good fit for that. So I do have some examples if you're interested in hearing about any of those.
I would love examples. And also, here's a call to action for someone to invent that aggregate, please, and send me the link. Okay, yes, examples.
Okay, we're working on that too. So a good example, so the company US Foods, a lot of people might be familiar with them. They're one of the largest like food suppliers and distributors to restaurants in the United States. Well, you may not know that US Foods actually has a magazine, print and digital, called Food Fanatics. That is a beautiful publication covering all kinds of trends in the food industry. So that's a great example of, content marketing is, I think, kind of described as like content supporting a brand's overall mission that's not overtly salesy, and also that is not supported by ads, right? Because traditional magazines are funded by advertisers paying to have digital or print ads as part of it, but content marketing is a whole different game, and that it's not supported in that way. So it has a lot more freedom, I would say. Another great example is Marriott Bonvoy Traveler. So we all know Marriott has, hotels and resorts, one of the largest hotel companies in the world. Of course, you can go to Marriott's website to book your hotels, but they also have this Bonvoy Traveler website, which is, like a travel and leisure sort of site where they have, the best things to do in Paris, like insider secrets to Rome, like all these different types of stories on there that are an excellent resource for travelers. And oftentimes I think can be even better than some of the big outlets, just because they're not as mainstream and they're able to go really niche with some of their topics. I think it's really interesting too, because a lot of the content marketing will often be assigned to writers by content marketing managers or editorial teams within these brands. based on, what people are searching for on their website. So in this example, for instance, say a lot of people are searching for, Miami hotels. Well, that might lead their editorial manager to say, okay, we need to produce some more Miami content that we can then use to drive traffic to our site, promote on social media, things like that, and assign some Miami related stories to writers. So I think that kind of like data-driven approach to content marketing can be really cool because why they're doing those stories rather than it just being a good story in itself. There's traffic behind and reasoning behind why they're covering that particular topic. I will say that, for something like this, you need to keep in mind if you have a hotel client, for instance, that you're looking to get covered and they're not a Marriott brand, you're not going to be able to pitch your hotel client to a story on a publication that like specializes in a particular brand of hotel. However, you might be able to pitch, a travel agent that you work with or some other kind of travel company, or maybe your destination or something like that. So just kind of be mindful if you're pitching a publication in the content marketing space that whatever it is they're selling isn't a direct competitor to whatever your client is, because that's not going to be a fit for their stories.
Yeah, that's a great call out. So are you pitching, not you, but like the brand or the publicist, are they pitching the writer of that byline, or are they trying to find the content manager who is assigning out? How does that process work?
Yeah, I mean, I would highly recommend going the route of freelance writers. I think a great place to start is if your publicists already have, a network of great freelance writers that you work with, pick 5 of them and just say, what types of content marketing are you doing right now? Like what brands are you working with? And could any of my clients ever be a fit for these? And chances are, if say like I specialize in travel. So if I am writing about travel for consumer publications, there's a good chance I'm also writing about travel in other ways for content marketing outlets, like I mentioned, for like the meetings and events. Like there's a lot of opportunity to cover travel in that space, even though a lot of people might not think about that. So I would really say approaching the freelance writers that you already have relationships with and just kind of seeing, how can you expand the ways in which you're working with them by possibly contributing some of your clients' expertise or things like that into some of these other stories they're doing for brands. And I think, one thing that's really worth mentioning is it's really worthwhile for a freelance writer to do this because 9 times out of 10, the pay is going to be a lot better for these content marketing brands. Like, again, they're not driven by advertising. Just as an example, like say you're doing a piece for a large, like mainstream travel digital website, you might earn $250 for a 1,000-word story versus a content marketing piece for a travel company, you might earn $1,000. So it could be, 4 times the amount. So I think that that's really, worth noting that, and especially in the travel industry, most travel writers don't exist on travel writing for these mainstream outlets by itself because the pay is just not there with these major brands anymore. And so a lot of them are supplementing with contributing to these perhaps less sexy outlets in the same space, but getting paid a lot better for it. And, as a result, they're wanting to incorporate more of the things that PR is pitching them in these types of stories as well, because, I really believe that for the most part, like publicists are, positive contributors to stories, and they have a lot of great experts and ideas and clients to offer up that can really add to the value of these stories that a journalist is producing for these companies as well.
Yeah, and another perspective that comes to my mind on the consumer end, I'm busy right now I'm going to Japan and Korea this fall with my family. And so I don't know much about those areas, so I've been doing a lot of Google searching, and I am getting paywall after paywall when I click on the major national publications. That is, and I get it. If I could subscribe and pay every single outlet on this planet, I would. But I'm ending up consuming a lot more of these smaller or off the beaten path blogs because they're not paid walls. So I do think there's a trend there too for you guys to think about when you're advising strategy to a client or you're coming up with your own, to realize that these blogs are worth your time, because it's harder. A lot of outlets are making it harder for general consumers to read their pieces. So that's a really excellent point, Lexie. I hadn't even thought about that, but it's very true.
And also, I think sometimes when you're researching trips like that, like the more niche you can go, the better, right? Like if you're going to a travel agency's blog, I mean, they're likely going to have much more in-depth information than something like a more mainstream, like Condé Nast Traveler or something would have as far as actually planning your trip. And just a little side note, if you're hitting a lot of paywalls, I don't know if you know about this tool called 12 feet, but it's like 12ft.io. And if you paste it, it basically helps you get around the paywall to any link. I don't really know how it works, but there's an app and a website. It's just 12foot.io, and it is really helpful for reading stories.
Holy cow. No, I have not heard of that. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's a whole nother rabbit hole I'm about to explore today. Again, I would like to say I am pro paying publications for their work. They deserve to be paid. However, in the instance where you really need past that payroll or paywall, that's really exciting to learn about. Okay, so I do want to transition a little bit one more time to have an opportunity to learn more about you as a journalist and some of your preferences, because you are multifaceted, but that still is part of who you are, is writing. I want to do a bit of a rapid fire preferential question section if you're up for it.
Absolutely.
I always say there's no right or wrong answer. This is you. So for anyone who's going to be pitching you, from publicists to businesses, listen up. This is how Kelsey wants to be pitched. So my first question, do you have a day of the week you prefer to be pitched?
No.
Day of the week to avoid being pitched?
Weekends.
Okay. Time of day that you prefer or suggest people to avoid?
Really early morning, like 6 a.m. Central, or in the evening, like 7 p.m. Schedule your emails to come at that time, and I'll see it first thing when I log in, and it will be a much lower traffic time in my inbox.
Okay, that's great insights. Media kits, do you look at them? Do you want them or no? Thing of the past.
For publications, yes. For businesses, kind of a thing of the past.
Okay. DMs on social media, do you want people sliding into your DMs or email only?
I'm okay with it to build a relationship with me, but pitches should definitely come through email.
And then of social media platforms, is there one or two you hang out the most on?
LinkedIn and Instagram for sure.
Okay. I'm okay. Quick squirrel. Do you think Threads is going to replace Twitter for journalists?
No.
Okay. I'm hoping not, because I'm team Twitter. Okay, cool. So follow-ups, are they okay?
Once or twice, yes.
Once or twice, yes.
Make sure you wait at least a week or two in between, though.
Okay. Do you care if it's a publicist pitching you or a brand?
I love both.
Love both. Pleasantries, meaning like take a paragraph or a couple sentences to say something personal, or do you want them to skip that and just get straight to the point?
Oh, I think pleasantries are great as long as they're authentic and actually show that you're following along with, someone's life. I think it's really smart because often their writing reflects the stage of life they're into.
Okay. And then my last question is regarding subject lines. Do you want them to be kind of straightforward and keyword plugged, or do you appreciate a good pun? Any advice there?
I love it when someone uses a subject line that could be a potential headline for one of my outlets. That would really catch my attention.
Okay, boom, love it. Okay, my last and most important question, which again probably looks a little bit different these days than maybe it did 6 months ago, but what can we find you sipping? Alcoholic or non-alcoholic, of course.
Oh, I love a good French 75. That's been my go-to.
Okay, remind me what's in that.
Champagne, lemon juice, and just like a little sweetener.
Okay. French 75. Last question I have is, where can people, guys, we will share the Pitchcraft website in the show notes, but is there somewhere else that you suggest people go if they hear the show, they want to connect with you or reach out? Where should they head?
Yeah, I would definitely say connect with me on LinkedIn. I use that every day. Do a lot of posting on there just about building relationships with journalists. Instagram, my handle is KB Ogletree. And then you can find more about Pitchcraft and watch a video about it at pitchcraft.media.
Perfect. I want to thank you again and also applaud you for taking the time to show up today for me and for all the listeners of this podcast. This has been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, Kelsey.
Thank you.
Hey guys, if you are enjoying the Pitchin and Sippin podcast, please do me a huge favor and leave a review wherever you are listening. If you want to connect with me to learn more about the PR Bar Inc., you can do so on Instagram at the PR Bar _Inc., or you can check out my website at theprbarinc.com. Cheers!